Hello and a very warm welcome to Public Forum. I am Amandra Bhatt. There was quite a buzz, indeed a certain amount of exaltation in the capital last evening when the Pakistani media announced that pursuant to action related to Pathankot outrage, Jaish-e-Muhammad chief Masood Azhar along with his brother and brother-in-law and a dozen other Jaish militants had been taken into custody. If this was so, then it was a major step forward and showed that Pakistan meant business and that it's removed a hurdle in the way of the planned Foreign Secretary level talks. But as the hours wore on, there was no official confirmation from Pakistan of such arrest. This morning, a Pakistan Foreign Office spokesman finally informed us that there had been no information in the matter and that the Foreign Secretary talks will now be rescheduled, something that the MEA spokesperson too confirmed later, saying that India welcomed the steps taken so far by Pakistan in connection with the Pathankot terror attack and that the talks will now take place sometime in the near future. Are we then back to square one with Pakistan? We discuss. And to discuss the future of India-Pakistan talks, we have with us in the studios an eminent panel. Please welcome Ms. Sreeram Chaulia. He's a Dean at the Jindal School of International Affairs. Welcome to the program, Dr. Chaulia. Dr. Chaulia, whatever the case may be with regard to Masood Azhar, whether or not he has been detained, what possibility do you see of Pakistan actually acting against him? Because one gets a sense of deja vu following the 26/11 Mumbai attacks in 2008 too. There had been rumors that Masood Azhar had been detained, but then there was a denial by Pakistan that no, he's not been detained, and in fact he had not even been in Pakistan at all.
Well, he's the proverbial cat with 9 lives, he's come through different phases in his association with the deep entrenched security state of Pakistan. And ever since he was released in 1999, there have been stages when he was seen as one of their main persons, but then he was then demoted and he disappeared, kept a low profile. Now, Jaish itself was banned in 2002. 11 years down the line, he comes out, 12 years, and last year he came out calling for a new jihad against India. And why would he be brought back by the inter-services intelligence when they had other chips like Lashkar? This is all, it's murky. And it clearly shows there's a kind of a deep criminalization of the Pakistani state. At some level, the madrasas, the jihadist groups, and also, organized crime, the sectarian group, they're all interlinked. And it's a kind of a vast criminal enterprise. And suddenly, maybe because Hafiz Saeed was, the most wanted man for a long time, and his organization was already proscribed by the UN, maybe they thought that they could bring back Jaish in some form or the other. It had already been renamed 3 to 4 times as Jamiat Furqan, this and that, and now they are again calling it JEM. And it's, in fact, the Pakistani media themselves are wondering as to why an organization that was proscribed in 2002 still exists 12 years down the line. They're saying we're going to trace their offices and shut them down now. So, it clearly shows deep complicity, and obviously that is where it stands. So I think they're bringing him back, resurrecting him as a way to sidestep the pressure on Lashkar and on Hafiz Saeed. But at the same time, you can't be sure because they're pretty mercurial. They may decide to drop him. He could even be assassinated tomorrow. You never know, Things are pretty, it's worse than a spy thriller going on out there. But the larger point from Indian point of view, of course, is that, he remains a thorn in the flesh, and clearly the audio intercepts showed the Pathankot attackers were taking direct orders from him and his brother. So, even with the Mumbai attacks, we have the transcripts. And the only fresh thing, if at all we can take some, saving grace out of all this murky business is, they have this time not gone on this big denial thing saying, India is unfairly accusing us. This time they have not come out saying, it's an internal thing that some, people dissatisfied, maybe Kashmiris or some internal Indian Muslims have done it. They are not denying like they did with Ajmal Kasab until their own media proved it. So to some extent they've acknowledged it. And the question, of course, is this enough for us? Just an acknowledgement. In 6 years, in 7 years, after so much blood has already been spilled from Mumbai to now, if they just move to acknowledgement, will we need another 7-8 years before action happens? So Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's statement is pretty strong, at least in its verbal tone, that we are going to go after these people, we are going to take strong action emanating from our soil. But previous leaders have said that we will not allow our soil to be used for, attacking neighboring countries. But be it the Afghans or be it the Indians, we have the same problem with them, because they keep saying it, but this umbilical cord of this vast criminal enterprise cannot be untangled until there is structural change, and there is basically an overthrow in the balance of power within the Pakistani polity. Until that happens, I think they will not certainly hand him over. He could again go undercover.
Whether or not these detentions mean anything at all, because we all know which way the Zakir Rahman.
There are some who say, in fact, that this guy Masood Azhar may not even be as powerful today as he was 10-15 years ago. So maybe it's a red herring at the end of the day. So even though he may have directed this attack, he may not be really the central locus from which the violence is coming.
But the point that you raised earlier, Dr. Chaulia, do you also see these few token arrests made in Pakistan as a way to try and salvage the dialogue process?
Yeah, I mean, they are token. I mean, some of these people who have been detained are university students. I mean, and most of them probably are not directly related in the attacks themselves. It's through the tracing of the mobile phone calls. So yes, I think there's got to be a movement in the Pakistani society. At one time, remember when we thought that dictatorship was predestined, military rule, as in formal military rule, there was a mass movement that overthrew General Musharraf. Unfortunately, and there are some sections in the society that are completely disillusioned with this double game that we have all been speaking about of the security agencies. So there's got to be a push factor from below, from the society. I think there are many people, not necessarily the majority, who feel offended and sorry at what has happened. For them, it's a matter of shame also that Pakistan's image is being sullied in the world as a center and an incubator of jihadist groups. And if you actually do a survey in the world, which is the biggest threat, Islamic State of Pakistan, I think Pakistan is going to come close second, in terms of, and remember, the infamy that it brings should also generate a sense of national self-reflection. But for that to happen, it's not happening at the moment. But eventually it will have to go that way. Maybe Pathankot is, the blood was not all in vain of our forces, at least to some extent, if it can, arouse this sentiment in the Pakistanis that they have to be good neighbors and have to behave decently, with, and otherwise not expect anything in return, and they have to, there has to be a churning. Most societies that are so troubled, President Obama said that Pakistan is going to be troubled for decades to come, and that's what he expects them to be. So there is some kind of debate going on in the society. There was this big massacre in Peshawar, as of school children, and after that they said, there's a kind of a sentiment coming out of that we'll go against all jihadist groups, and they will not make distinctions. Then there was this national action plan, which has not been implemented. People are now using Pathankot to say what happened, and there have also been other attacks. While we are talking about Pathankot, there have been suicide attacks against polio immunizers in on the western side in Pakistan, and so on. So I think it's a society in deep crisis, and the state is just not being able to fulfill the aspirations of the people. And to that extent, the people have to rise up, because if they rely upon the same old delegate the responsibilities of national security for the ISI and for their brethren, I think they're going to see more and more blood being spilled. So in a way, the Frankenstein idea, where they create these and then they come back to bite the hand, that's already deep. I mean, they have lost 60-70,000 people in the last decade or so from bomb blasts and suicide bombings and attacks themselves. But still, if there is no,
and yet it does not absolve them or the Pakistan army from sponsoring these groups.
Exactly. Be it sectarian killings, be it they are sponsoring the Haqqani group in Afghanistan to devastate that. They're attacking our installations in Afghanistan as well. So it's like a multi-sided. So it's like a hydra-headed monster that we don't know where to cut it and stop it. At one level, what we also need to do is to establish deterrence. Ambassador Kajju has also been writing about it, and frankly, who is the laughing stock? According to Jaish media and their publicity, India has become the laughing stock because we had so many chinks in our armor and we allowed these jihadists to come and trouble us for 3 days. But there is another way of looking at it, which is Pakistan has become the laughing stock because of its image as a problematic state, right, in the world. So, for us to be able to get rid of this monkey off the back of being a soft state, there is also the military dimension, right? I mean, it's not only about internal security.
Right.
We did a very, worthwhile operation in Myanmar across the border in hot pursuit last year, and then somebody from the government said
but
we can do it.
Pakistan is a different ballgame altogether. But,
Exactly.
but we need to strengthen our defenses, secure our borders.
And frankly, if Masood Azhar is gone, and we have hand in doing that, we should be able to do it. There is a role for violence in statecraft, and frankly, when we're dealing with very violent opponents.
I'd like to thank you all for coming here. It was a pleasure having you here. That's it for now in this edition of Public Forum. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.